I tell them suckers to move. I ain't in the mood. Got me with the crew, let me do what I do. I tell them suckers to poof. Got me in the booth, lobby in the truth. Let me do what I do. Yeah, remember when the U come through, enter the music jungle. Or back with the block, I used to rock, I used to fumble. I still rock down, drop the ball when I want to. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Manny.
My name's Alberto.
And this is the OnlyFights Podcast.
Episode 24.
Yes, sir. Happy New Year's. Yeah, first one of the year.
Yep. First one of 2022. Word.
How was your New Year's, man?
It was all right. I don't even think I made it to 12. Actually, I was watching something with my wife, and we had our son, obviously, so we put him to sleep. We were watching something, and I think we both fell asleep like 11:30.
Nice.
So yeah,
nice.
didn't really do much.
Right before. Yeah, man. I woke up to all that shit. Like I woke up to the fireworks and people yelling and shouting Happy New Year's and all that stuff.
Yep.
I was in bed by 9:30 probably.
Yeah.
I had my daughter too, so I didn't really have much of a celebration. But
we're parents now.
Hey, it is what it is. I mean, I was up technically because they woke me up.
Yeah.
But I could have went out and just got a quick party running, but decided to stay in.
Yeah.
And that was my Friday, I guess.
There was no fights Friday night, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I know there was no MMA at all. Like it seemed like they all took the holidays off.
Yeah, that's cool. It's gonna be fun when we get it back.
Oh yeah,
I
just feel like we were spoiled with we had so many big like amazing events
every week.
To end the year, and now it's like fuck. And then again next week is still nothing UFC wise next week.
Well, there was a boxing card. PBC had a card. It was a pay-per-view. It was a half-price pay-per-view. A lot of people were complaining about this. Even myself, I was like, Luis Ortiz versus Charles Martin. Good fight. Decent undercard. But it certainly wasn't worth pay-per-view until I found out that it was only half price.
Yeah.
Only $40. So I thought to myself, it wasn't that bad. So let me jump into that. They actually had the prelim start mad early because they didn't start this till like 9, or 8 I think, and the prelim started at like 5. It was nuts. Not much to say about the prelims except there's a guy. I'm gonna give you a name. He's from Detroit, Motor City, just like the Motor City Cobra, Tommy Hearns. I'm not saying he's gonna be that good, but who knows? He goes by the name of Frank Martin. He fought Romero Duno, who's a former Ryan Garcia opponent. Now Ryan Garcia knocked him out in the first round. Yeah. And this guy, he fights, but the thing about Duno is, he's a puncher. He comes forward and he can hurt you. So Frank Martin is number 30. He's ranked number 37 in the lightweight division, the already stacked lightweight division, and he's 5'8", which is pretty tall for that division. And he's 14-0 coming in. There were some questions.
Yeah. So
Duno was a good opponent and came in, did pretty good the first couple rounds, got rocked in the fourth, and as soon as he got rocked, he turned it up, and had good defense, made Duno miss. Came in with an overhand right, and it looked like he slept him. Mm-hmm. But Duno got the hard head, man. He gets right back up, and it looked really bad. Gets a standing 8 count. Referee lets it continue, and they keep fighting, and does the same thing, man. He throws the right hand. Frank Martin ducks it, throws his right hand, counters, and bro, he's out. Like referee just stops it. It was knockout of the year so far. For sure. Nah, man. So he's one to look out for. I mean, I don't think he's ready for the top guys at 135, but in that division, maybe looking into some of those 130-pounder guys that's gonna eventually move up. And by the time they move up, he might be ready for one of those guys. But yeah, so Frank Martin, that's a name to look out for. I didn't watch anything else in the prelims.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But did watch the card, man. It was a pretty good card, pretty good card. Again, especially for the half price pay-per-view. You had Luis Ortiz taking on Prince Charles Martin.
Yep.
And on the undercard, on the co-main, you had Frank Sanchez taking on Christian Hammer, who was a late replacement for Carlos Negron, who had COVID. Yeah, this was fun, man. It starts off with opening bout was Victor Foss taking on Igo Chikatse. And Victor Foss undefeated 8-0. Yeah, still a little green, but he takes on Igo Chikatse. And this guy, man, he been in the ring with a lot of the guys in the heavyweight division. Efe Ajagba, Joe Joyce, Michael Hunter, Adam Kanaki. I'm pretty sure he got knocked out by all those guys. But good test for this Victor Foss guy, who's, like I said, coming in undefeated and starts off knocking Chikatse down like in the first 15 seconds in the fight. So it was kind of looking like, oh, okay, just another up and coming guy gonna knock this guy out, kind of business as usual.
Yeah.
Then he takes a right hand and goes down, and he looks bad. Faust, the undefeated guy, and then he gets back up, and later on in the round, bro, he knocks down Chikatse again. So we're looking at 3 knockdowns in the very first round.
Damn.
In the opening round, and they had this referee who was like super short but like pudgy and looked kind of young. So I've seen him before, but I can't imagine he's that experienced because he doesn't look he looks kind of young.
I think I know who you're talking about.
He's like Spanish.
Yeah.
He
always got like a real sharp shape up.
Right. He got the boppy haircut and shit. Yeah. So all the it was a whole night of heavyweight fights. They could not have picked the tiniest referees to do this shit, yo.
Yeah.
The whole fucking night. It was just guys like 5'7" and under. And big ass heavyweights.
That is true. They should have some bigger guys for the heavyweights so they could really like separate them more. And
oh, dude, I mean, they had Mills Lane do Tyson and Holyfield, man. How many times he had to separate those guys?
Yeah,
little ass Mills Lane. But anyway, so in this fight, yeah, man, opening round, 3 knockdowns. Both guys tasted, obviously Chikatse got the worst of it with 2 of them. Yeah. But then in the second round, they both are hurt. They're both bloodied, and I mean, after 1 round of fighting, they both look like they went to war. They did. But it was crazy. So in the second round, Chikatse comes out and knocks down Faust again, and he gets back up, and then he trades the knockdown with Chikatse, and Chikatse goes down. Mind you, Chikatse once again he's the seasoned veteran who's journeyman, and Victor Foss is the undefeated up and coming guy. So he gets up, and the referee, we got to get his name. He starts counting, counts to 8. He says, "Walk to me," and Chikatse he takes a step like sideways. He kind of takes a little side step, and the referee calls it off. And I'm like, it's kind of... Bro, before I could even say anything and complain, Chikatse landed a little cross on the referee. I was like, yo. And the referee just looks at him like, what the fuck is your problem, man? Go to your corner.
That's crazy.
It was funny. But it was...
So he stopped the fight right there?
Yeah, because he was saying... He got interviewed, and he was basically saying, like, he stumbled when I told him to walk to me. And I couldn't let him continue.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, like, if he truly feels like he was hurt, he's standing right in front of him. He's seeing it better than I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
But damn, that was about to be a crazy fight. 5 knockdowns in 2 rounds. You know what I'm saying? I mean, how long was the fight gonna last?
Yeah,
anyways?
Probably wouldn't have went much longer.
Probably wouldn't even have finished that round. Yeah, but crazy opening fight to the start of the year. For
that's dope.
And then after that, we had another seasoned guy, Gerald Washington, taking on Ali Aram Demerson. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He's a Turkish fighter. 14-1 with 11 KOs. His one and only loss came from F.A. Ajagba. He knocked him down in that fight too, but he lost. Gerald Washington, he's been in there with a lot of those guys. Wilder, Hellenius, Kanaki. He lost to Kanaki. I think he knocked out Hellenius. So that just goes to show how boxing works, man.
Yeah.
Because Kanaki couldn't beat Hellenius in 2 fights.
Yep.
Anyways, so pretty good fight. Slow start, but it was good for Washington because he doesn't have the best stamina. I thought he was taking the first 2 rounds pretty convincingly. Demerson is a pressure fighter, which isn't good for people with bad stamina because he made Washington fight more than he had to, and by the 3rd round, Washington was completely, he was fighting with his mouth open, and throughout the rest of the fight, Demerson would just walk him down, have him up against the ropes, and just easily win rounds. Nothing too spectacular, nothing too, I thought he could have got him out of there like a lot sooner.
Yeah.
But Washington would always have his moments here and there. He would find a spurt of energy to land a nice combination, and it just kind of looked like Washington could have outboxed him if he just wasn't so damn tired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the fact that Demerson couldn't finish a very tired Gerald Washington, who's been knocked out by Wilder and Kanaki and guys like that, it kind of told me a lot. Eventually, I think they threw in the towel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Buddy McGirt training Gerald Washington, and Demerson would win by TKO stoppage. I didn't write down what round, but like I said, Washington just not doing the road work, man. Not having the stamina to go a 10-round fight against the pressure fighter. The pressure fighter not being able to do enough to stop the guy who clearly could have been could have gotten out in any round. So that was that. Once again, Demerson wins by a TKO victory against Gerald Washington. And moving on to a rematch between Jonathan Rice taking on Michael Coffey. So Jonathan Rice was another journeyman who decided he said he was going to start taking his career more serious because he works. I don't know what he does for a living, but he has a job. And I guess he basically said, like, I don't want to work this job no more, so I want to take boxing more serious and try to become a more marquee fighter. And when he said that, they put him up against Michael, up and coming undefeated guy, and Michael Coffey, who's a former Marine. So he spent a lot of time in the Marines and the military.
Yeah.
And started boxing really late, like in his late 20s, which is real crazy to start boxing.
Probably in the Army or whatever, or in the Marines.
Yeah, I would assume so. I don't have his full story, but anyways, so he came into that fight. Now this is a fight from last year. Came into that fight undefeated, fighting a journeyman who, like I said, just decided to start taking this a little more serious. Maybe add a little more game to his training or something.
Yeah.
Put in that extra money, and it maybe would pay off. And it certainly did because he would stop Michael Coffey in that first fight and have a shot at a rematch to prove that it was no fluke. And real slow opening rounds. But it would pick up. And actually kind of similar to the last fight, man. Michael Coffey just got real tired. They actually both got real tired, but
was it also heavyweight?
Coffey seemed, the whole card was heavyweights.
Nice.
Coffey just seemed to have like way less energy, which is ironic, right?
Yeah.
Coffey energy. And Johnny Rice just takes advantage of that. He hurts him a couple of times. There was a couple of times where I thought maybe you could have stopped the fight, or looking at a Marine here, so I don't think he's gonna go down from a punch.
That's true.
But Johnny Rice, he outworks him, gets his decision. I don't know where Michael Coffey goes from here. It's looking like he might have some decisions to make.
Yeah.
Because he's now 12-2. So we'll see where he goes from here, and we'll see where Johnny Rice goes from here, man. He was really adamant in that in the interview. You know, they interviewed him, and he was basically he alluded to quitting his job.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing if his coworkers were watching, they're like, oh, we're not gonna see him here no more. And he was basically saying like, yo, this is the start. This is the start of the beginning. Like, I'm gonna start getting bigger checks. I think he kept saying 6 figures, you know. So I'm like, hey, get your money, bro.
Yeah,
that's what's up. You know what I mean? Yeah. So shout out to Johnny Rice, who improves to 14-6.
Word.
Yeah, beating Michael Coffey and showing that first win was no fluke.
Yeah.
You know. Moving on to the co-main was Frank Sanchez taking on Christian Hammer. He was a late replacement for Carlos Negron out of Puerto Rico, who he had COVID. Frank Sanchez, he's trained by Eddie Reynosos. So
nice.
Canelo was in the building, you know what I mean, to support. And, you know, that's always dope to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Not much to say about this fight, man. Christian Hammer, another seasoned veteran who just came to not get hurt, man. You know, he was doing a lot of his lot of blocking, a lot of moving around. You know, had Frank Sanchez really walking him down and great boxing. You know, Cuban fighter, so he has the Cuban pedigree. Yeah. Plus, again, he's working with Eddie Reynoso, one of the best trainers in the game right now, if not the best.
Trainer of the year.
So absolutely. So yeah, just a lot of good boxing. You know, it did make for a kind of lackluster, boring fight. I ain't gonna hold you. There's a couple of times where I just looked away and did other things, and you know, I didn't really watch the whole fight 100%. I know there was a knockdown late in the fight. I didn't watch that because I walked away. And, you know, but for the most part, it was Frank Sanchez just dominating a guy who you know just did what he could not to get knocked out. Christian Hammer was, I think his last fight was against Luis Ortiz. Yeah, and so that's that. Frank Sanchez wins, and moving on to the main event, Luis Ortiz.
Oh yeah.
Taking on Charles Martin. When I watched the what's it called, the weigh-ins, the day before, I thought Luis Ortiz looked like shit. I was even gonna post something on the page alluding to that, but I didn't want to. I said, man, he looks really flabby.
Yeah, he didn't look as good a shape as he usually does.
He came in at his career highest, which again, when you add that with the flab, you know, it's kind of like it's not a good look. I was thinking about putting some money on Charles Martin, you know, because he was the underdog in this fight, and you know, he looked to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
And better shape than I've seen him in recent years. So I thought about putting money on him. I didn't. But let's see. So how does this fight start? Luis Ortiz comes out. You know, he's jabbing. He's boxing really well. Another Cuban fighter. There's a lot of Cuban fighters. This card was in Florida, so that makes sense, right? Miami. Yeah. So Cuban fighter, good amateur pedigree. Knows how to knows the fundamentals of boxing is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And so comes out in that first round, boxing very well. Then he gets caught with a jab, I think. Yep. I think it was a jab that knocked him down, right?
The first one was a jab, yeah.
And I was like, okay. I don't know if maybe he was off balance or whatever.
Yeah,
but
I think he was kind of coming in and like caught him off balance.
Right. But even Ortiz kind of got up like, damn, I really just went down from a jab. Like he had that look in his face, like, you know, I remember like when he fought Wilder and you know, he was trying to front like, nah, I'm good. Like, and he clearly wasn't.
Yeah.
But like in that when he got knocked down, yeah, it was like a different. It was more like a shock reaction. So, yeah, and that opened up Charles Martin to have some success in a lot of those rounds. I wasn't really scoring it, but it was looking like Charles Martin was doing the better work.
Yeah, for sure.
They kept showing both families, and they kept showing Ortiz's daughter crying.
Yeah, like the whole time, right?
I wasn't cool with that. Like, you know, you don't have to. I get it. You can show it to me once.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But like,
it was like the whole fight they were showing. They showed crying.
It like 3-4 times. Yeah. And then they showed like, you know, Martin's family celebrating, which is obviously, nothing against that, but just the fact that the way that they were doing it, like
after the knockdowns,
they were showing you like Ortiz's family crying, and then they showed you Martin's family cheering. It was kind of like, I don't know. It's different. I don't know. It's different.
It's very
right?
different. It's almost becoming like more of a thing in boxing. I feel like, and I don't like it.
Well, I know they do that a lot in like football, right? Yeah, like if you're watching a game where the home team is getting blown out, and then they just show the audience, and they just show somebody with a really pissed off look or something like that. Like they do shit like that. That's different though.
But yeah, now in boxing, it's like family, like the direct families.
Exactly.
Like
I was just about
wives.
to say that. Like,
yeah,
they're showing the family,
their wives, their kids. Like,
and it's a different sport. In boxing, you can get hurt. Where I mean, you can definitely get hurt in football, but at the same time, it's just different. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Anyways, so yeah, I think Charles Martin is having great success. He knocks Ortiz down again in the fourth, with another jab, and I'm just like, man, Ortiz is going down relatively easy. I had some questions. Like, I don't know if that age is catching up with him. Yeah. I don't know if maybe those knockouts from Wilder, you know what I'm saying, like did something to him.
Yeah, the one with Wilder was bad. Cause that was like straight, like in the first one, in the forehead. Yeah.
The second one, yeah. Yeah, I see, but I thought the first one was worse because, well, he went down more times.
Yeah.
And if you remember, man, Wilder had the illest torque on that uppercut when he landed it. Oh, I remember even in the post-fight conference of that fight, when they were showing Wilder the replay, even he went, oh my God, like even he didn't realize how hard he hit him. Yeah, that one was bad. But I mean, the fact that he took both those knockouts, I think when you add them all up, we're seeing not the best Ortiz. Now, despite everything that I'm saying right now,
he might have also underestimated Martin a little bit by like not, like you said, not coming in as good a shape as he usually does.
Yeah, well, that was my initial thought, but that thought actually kind of went away once I saw him fight. He looked good.
Yeah.
He looked good. He looked poised. Even when he got knocked down, he got back up. He, all that. But then Martin would have his success, and
he's got a lot of experience, Ortiz.
Yeah, they both do. They've both been around for a while.
Yeah.
And but like I said, despite all the success that Martin would have, in the sixth round, Ortiz comes out, just lands this beautiful overhand right that sent Charles Martin on his feet to a whole nother galaxy, man. He was in another world.
He had no idea where he was.
No idea where he was at.
he had his hands down and started like walking the other way.
He looked at Ortiz as if he looked at him the same way you would look at a complete stranger if they just punched you in the face. Yeah. Like, why did you just hit me in the face? Like, he didn't realize he was fighting. It was crazy, man. And then and Ortiz went in for the kill. The referee could have stopped it right then and there.
Yeah, I think just after that reaction,
exactly,
it was over.
Yeah, so Ortiz goes in for the kill. This is how nice of a guy Ortiz is. He has Martin up against the ropes, and Martin's hand actually, like, he's going down, and his hand gets caught in the ropes.
Yeah,
and Ortiz like walks away from that, to where I think other guys would have took advantage, like just extra shade. The referee didn't stop me. I can do this. But so his hands like caught in between the ropes. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. The referee untangles it. He does I don't even think he gave him a standing 8 count. I think he basically.
I think he stopped it after that, right? I think
they let him fight.
Oh, they did?
Because I thought he stopped the fight right there because he wasn't counting.
Yeah.
But then So he untangles Martin. Yeah, it was weird. It was definitely weird. All I know is that the fight could have been stopped from that initial overhand
right after the right hand.
But yeah, so it doesn't get stopped. The fight resumes, and then Ortiz just lands combination and stops him and gets the KO. And then they showed his family again, and everybody was nice and happy and cheerful, and they didn't show Martin's family. So kind of a good thing.
Yeah, that's kind of weird they're doing that.
Yeah. But all in all, man, like this was a really good card. I thought so.
Yeah, I didn't watch the whole card. I watched the main event, and the main event was good. A good heavyweight matchup. I don't know what else you want from a heavyweight fight.
Yeah, with the exception, I know the co-main was a little lackluster just because it was a one-sided beatdown.
Yeah.
The Rice Coffee fight was pretty entertaining. Washington fight, Demerson fight, a little more entertaining, and then an opening fight. Just 2 rounds, man, but that might be the greatest 2 rounds you'll see in quite some time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, shout out to the PBC. Gave us a good card. They actually have a couple of good cards coming up. I'm gonna run through some of them real quick. So we got Gary Russell Jr. taking on Mark McSile.
Mm-hmm.
That should be a really good. That should be a good fight.
When is that one?
That's the next one. So that's January 22nd.
Nice.
That's gonna be on Showtime. And then February the 5th. This has to be right before the Super Bowl. They always Fox PBC always does a pay-per-view right before the Super Bowl. So I'm gonna assume this was the one. That's gonna be Keith Thurman, the return of one time, taking on Mario Barrios, who just fought Tank.
Yeah.
And and Leo Santa Cruz was on that fight. Luis Neri. A good card. That's a really good card. That's a damn good card.
Also, Barrios is the one that some people think beat Tank.
Oh no. He his last fight was with Tank, but he wasn't the last guy to fight Tank. He was that tall guy, that tall Spanish dude.
The one that he uppercutted?
He was No, that was Cruz. He was winning though. I think he was beating Cruz. Up until he started getting knocked down.
All right. Yeah, I'm not sure who this guy is.
He's good though. He's the only thing is he's moving up. He's moving up. And normally I would have Thurman all day. Normally I'd be like, oh, this is an easy fight for Thurman. But we haven't seen him since. Let me see. What was his last fight? I mean,
wasn't the Pacquiao one, was it?
It was the Pacquiao. But here's the thing. His last fight was a loss to Pacquiao. The fight before that was was it Josecito Lopez? He won that fight. He won every single round. I think it was a 10-round fight. Won every single round. But there was that, I think, the 8th round where he got absolutely rocked and wobbled, and it was looking like he could have stopped it at any point in time. Yeah. He had Steve Willis reffing it. You know that black dude that's always like
very animated.
Yeah, very animated. And man, that I think that's the one where people really noticed him because he was just like Keith Thurman was just getting rocked. Yeah. Like that whole ring. And yeah, man, it was bad. So the last time we seen Keith Thurman, but the last time we seen one time was against Danny Garcia.
Yeah.
And cause did he fight anybody after? Nah.
That's when he had that long layoff, right?
Yeah, because Danny he complained after the fight. He complained about how hard Danny hit him in the elbows, and now he can't throw a punch no more. Like Danny kind of ruined him. It's messed up. He didn't win that fight, but he kind of broke Keith Thurman. Like Keith Thurman never really been the same. So yeah, a lot of questions, man. A lot of questions. I don't know. I think I'm still gonna pick Thurman just because he's the natural 147 guy. Yeah. But who knows, man? Barrios was always a big guy at 140. Maybe at 147 he'll just have more power. And who knows, man? If he can get to that body, Keith Thurman has he's known to not have the best take the best body shots. I've seen him get hurt by even less than a reputable competition. We'll just say that.
So this will be a pay-per-view?
That is a pay-per-view, yes. But I think it's a good one. I mean, considering the undercard, the return of Santa Cruz as well.
Yeah.
Next week, however, is Top Rank, and that's is next week the 15th. I'm sorry, I think it's the 15th.
No, that's the following week.
So it's the following week. Oh man, so there's no fights this week at all. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Showtime got a card. It ain't much. Luis Nunes versus Carlos Arieta. Yeah, a lot of up and coming guys. I mean, I'll watch that and I'll keep y'all up to speed, but
Yeah, it's gonna be a slow week next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, then there's no UFC next week either.
That's crazy.
Then the 15th is gonna be a fight night. Calvin Kattar versus Giga Chikatse. Yeah. This should be a really good fight, man. Giga's really making his way through that featherweight division, making his way up. I think his last win was against Edson Barbosa, who's been known as one of the best strikers in the UFC for a while. And that's what Giga is kind of like. He kind of seems like a younger version of Barbosa. Like, he has the same kind of kickboxing style, like super crazy accurate, strikes, kicks, and all kinds of things. Calvin Kattar, he kind of had the same story. He made his way up, and then his last fight was with Max Holloway, and Max Holloway gave him the fucking beating of his life.
I remember that.
That was crazy. Yeah, man, this kid's tough. He's from Boston. Like I said, I'm Max Holloway, he's only lost in the last couple years to Volkanovski. Other than that, he's been beating everybody up. So I'm sure there's, Kattar still got a lot left. This should be a pretty good fight. And then the following week, we got the big UFC pay-per-view, 270, Francis Ngannou versus Cyril Gane. And then the trilogy, which I'm really excited for, Brandon Moreno and Deiveson Figueiredo.
Yeah, that's more. I'm more excited for that.
That one looks really exciting. Deiveson Figueiredo has been training with Henry Cejudo.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen, but John Jones and Deiveson Figueiredo have went to Henry Cejudo's gym to train, so they're both like in camp with like all three of them basically.
Nice.
It's pretty crazy, right? He's training a flyweight, in the lowest weight class, and then a heavyweight, John Jones. You know what I mean? So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It goes to show like the respect that these fighters got for Henry Cejudo. You know what I mean? For them to reach out and like go there, it's kind of becoming a trend. We kind of seen a couple of fighters do that now. So when that happens, you always gotta think they're gonna go they're gonna go heavy wrestling.
Yeah.
Which is gonna be interesting. Figueiredo wrestling Brandon Moreno. That should be it's gonna be a whole different fight. You know what I mean? It was mainly striking, really.
Right.
In the first couple, and Figueiredo's, he's a really good striker. I just think he gets tired. I think he cuts so much weight. You know what I mean? I think he gets tired towards the end of fights. And probably, he probably underestimated Brandon a little bit too, in those fights. But man, that kid's a killer. So yeah, that should be a really good fight.
Yeah, we'll have more of a breakdown then as we get closer to it.
Yeah, we'll do predictions and shit next week. We'll probably have to do that next week since we don't got much.
Yeah.
But other than that, not much happened, man. No really big fight announcements. The only big thing that was kind of happening was the back and forth with Dana and Jake Paul. Did you see any of that?
I saw some of it.
So I'm not sure when it started. I don't even have Twitter. I see all this shit on Instagram. So I don't know. Obviously Jake Paul has been calling out Masvidal and Nate Diaz and all these smaller guys that are in the UFC that, realistically, those fights are never going to happen. They're never going to get out of their UFC contracts. You know what I mean? Like, all those guys are under contracts. And also, it's now becoming obvious that, he needs to fight guys with bigger names now.
Oh, yeah.
Like guys that are pay-per-view draws, because Jake is kind of losing.
Did you see what the reported numbers were?
I like something real low, like 60,000 or something.
75,000.
75,000, right? Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy low.
And I think that they would have been even lower if he would have fought Tommy Fury. I
agree.
If he would have got hurt and Woodley doesn't step in, that I think that does even worse numbers. I think Woodley's the reason that he got those numbers.
Yeah, I think what made that fight even somewhat anything was Woodley almost hurting him in that first fight.
Yeah.
It was like, well, maybe he'll do it again. and
everybody's saying that he wasn't very, that Woodley was kind of being inactive in the fight, and if he would have opened up a little more, he could have won it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so he's been calling out the UFC guys, talking shit on Dana, saying Dana's a fucking cokehead, this and that. So, Dana responds to him finally pretty much and is like, all right, so I'll do a little challenge with you. He said, you can test me for coke whenever you want, like a drug test or whatever, and I can test you for steroids whenever I want.
Yeah, he said you can test me for 10 years.
He said the next 10 years.
As long as I can test you for 2 years or something like that.
Yep, I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
The discrepancy was crazy, but yeah, it's funny because I remember getting mad at Dana White back when he was feuding with De La Hoya, and he'd call him a cokehead, crackhead, all that shit, and he still calls him that, and that really does bother me because you know, like, I guess I just have my own personal reasons. Like, I know what Oscar was going through, like in terms of mental health. Like, it was just he had poor mental health, so he made a lot of shitty mistakes. That's kind of what happens. So for me, when Dana White makes fun of that, it's almost like he's making fun of the mental health aspect of it, which that does bother me. So I remember like really hating Dana White for saying those things, and now they're being said to him, and
he don't like it either.
And well, I mean, obviously, especially if you don't do it, but so now I'm not crazy about the way Jake Paul's doing it, you know, like I wasn't too mad at about his demands, right? He turned into a villain.
Yep.
These are my demands. My demands are that you pay your fighters more and stuff like that. And
so that was his response was that he'll retire boxing and fight one of those guys, either Jorge Masvidal or Nate Diaz, in the UFC for one fight, and retire boxing if Dana White raises the minimum fighter pay from from 12,000 to 50,000, which 12,000 is pretty crazy for like that's really low.
That's
and then
nothing.
And then also guarantee that the fighters will get 50%, or the fighters' total pay will be 50% of the annual revenue,
right?
Which is
profit sharing.
Another big thing that came up. I think last year. I think like at the end of the year last year, when the UFC had like their biggest year yet, they made like, you know, billions of dollars, and then I think the percentage of the fighter pay was only like 10% of that or something, which is crazy. And then also the third demand was that he provide long-term health care for fighters because of brain damage and stuff like that.
Yeah, every company should do that.
He pretty much said that he has 5 days to accept the challenge, and they had to be implemented by March 31st.
Fucking Inspector Gadgets.
He said once implemented, I will immediately retire boxing, enter USADA, and agree to one fight deal to fight Jorge Masvidal.
This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds. Oh my God.
And then Dana responded to that. Did you see the video Dana did?
Yeah.
He was like, Jake, nobody believes you wrote that.
You're too stupid to write that.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not. No, what did he say? He's like, why? Yeah, and that's kind of what I was alluding to too. Like why are you like, you know, pussyfooting around my challenge? You know, like.
Yeah, he didn't even mention it.
Are you on how do you say? He said it just like when because this is very reminiscent of when Dana was feuding with De La Hoya, and they wanted to fight, and Dana White was telling De La Hoya to take a drug test, and he said, I'm willing to take a drug test. And like I just remember and a lot of this was over this was with man, who are those fighters that De La Hoya promoted with the MMA? Was it Tito Ortiz
and Chuck Liddell?
Chuck Liddell. And this was around that time, and he's like he made this little like selfie video where he's like talking shit. De La Hoya did, and he's like, I pay my fighters. Do you pay your fighters, Dana? So, and that's kind of how he ended the video. And then when I saw that video of Dana, he's like I don't do cocaine. Do you do steroids, Jake? Or something. Yeah. It was very reminiscent, and I was just like, wow, man. It's just like, you know, it's a sideshow, man. This is just like now what Dana's doing is he's stepping out of what he does. Now he's doing social media. You know, like I always tell people, man, like Jake Paul, like don't forget he's social media.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like if he's boxing, whatever he's doing, that's what he's doing. But it all comes back to social media. That's all gonna influence him being an influencer. So what Dana White doing right now, that's social media.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
But it made a little more sense too, because I also found out Dana revealed in that video that Jake Paul's manager was like his accountant or something.
Right.
He worked for UFC at one point.
Yeah, and he called him a scumbag.
Yeah, he said that he was a scumbag and this and that, and yeah, so that kind of you know, that has to do that has to be part of it too. That I think, you know, they are kind of probably throwing shots at Dana from the inside as well.
Right. And yeah, they might have some dirt. They might. I always say this, man. Like, if, like I said, like those demands, those villain demands from Jake Paul, man, I'm not even mad at that. Like at the end of the day, I don't know the UFC's company, man. I don't even need to know, like, because that's not my job. But like, if if Dana can afford to pay his fighters more, if he can afford to give them more, and if this goes for any promoter, not just Dana, because he's the one that always gets thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
But if you're a promoter and you can pay your fighter more, like, just don't be a piece of shit, man. Like that's all. That's all. And it's hard to tell. You know, we go back to the days of like Don King, you know, ruining fighters and stealing from fighters, and a lot of boxers, because you know boxing's been around a lot longer, so a lot of boxers dying poor, right? I think like, well, I remember when I read about Whitaker, Sweet Pea, rest in peace. You know, he passed away tragically from a car accident, I think, or something like that. And you know, he didn't have any money, and you know, his poor family had to do like a GoFundMe page to help out with the funeral costs and stuff like that. You know, you have all these old fighters, both old boxers and old MMA fighters, wanting to participate in the stupid sideshow Triller shit just to make the money because they don't got it. You know what I mean?
And you know, probably not getting the proper, you know, medical attention they need when they start.
Definitely not.
You know, when they start showing signs of brain damage and stuff.
Like, you know, this is a sport. I know women participate in the sport as well, but this is a sport where, like, for men, you know, it's about being tough, right? And it's about, like, you know, the NFL, they're gonna have all that stuff for you. They're gonna have trainers and a health team, you know, nurses and all that shit. They're gonna have that for you. You don't even have a choice. In boxing, you're responsible for your own injuries and all those things.
Yep.
So and we spoke about this, how fighters and combat sports in general always fight with injuries. Always. You're never not gonna be injured. You fight. Like, that's what you do. You're hitting your body every day. And every time you step in that ring or cage. So you're gonna develop injuries, you're gonna fight through injuries, and you're gonna sustain these long-term injuries.
And you're gonna hide them too a lot of times.
And exactly, and again with the macho tough guy mentality, you know, you're gonna try to convince yourself like it ain't nothing. This is also a huge problem in professional wrestling. You know, with the, you know, Vince McMahon's been thrown under the hot bus or hot seat, whatever. You know, with the what is that, CTE and you know, a whole lot of other things that come with professional wrestling. If you ever watch like Dark Side of the Ring, man, they expose a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
But in boxing and in MMA, man, is not much different, man. Like, you know, you're in control of your own shit, so there's nobody's gonna give you healthcare if you're not getting it on your own. Yep. Nobody's gonna ensure that, you know, you protect your body like to its like, you know, at its most optimal. Nobody's gonna do that unless, you know, you get somebody to do it. You know, you gotta hire people to do that, and in order to do that, you have to be compensated properly, and that's where the promoters come in. So if the promoters can't pay you enough, fine, then have a, you know, have like what Jake was saying in that letter. And I'm not just talking about Dana. I'm talking about any promoter, man. Like, have the health insurance, have the 401k, man. Have that stuff. Have that stuff so these fighters can retire with the money that they was making when they were fighting. You know what I'm saying? You look at somebody like Floyd Mayweather, he did it perfect. You look at somebody like Andre Ward, perfect. A lot of guys are looking like they're on that route. Yep. You know, Sean Porter, he retired. We all cried. We're like, no, you still got more in you. And he said, I don't care. I can have more fights in me. I can retire. I want to retire with my health, dignity. Plus, and if you watch his like shows and stuff, he got a lot of things going on, man. Shout out to Sean Porter. He was doing the commentary at the BBC. He's working on a movie. Yep. Which he told me, he didn't tell me, but I heard him talk about the script, and it's basically the if you ever played Fight Night, the most recent Fight Night, champion or whatever, and it was the only one with a storyline. I don't think they ever had a storyline except in that game. So the storyline was, you know, you play a fighter who was incarcerated for I guess a crime he didn't commit or something like that, and long story short, so you beat somebody in the amateurs, and you were supposed to be the guy, but you go to jail, and then that guy that you beat in the amateurs, he prevails and he becomes like the #1 fighter, right? So then you get out of jail, and everybody's saying like, oh, that's the guy that could beat him. That's the only guy that could beat. You know what I mean? It's one of those type of things, and so I'm like, that's Fight Night. He's telling the script of the movie. I'm like,
is he the star or
that's
no?
fight night. Well, I'm guessing he's gonna play the boxer. I'm guessing that's the star. So, yeah. I think he's gonna play the protagonist. If that's what you're asking. Yeah, I believe so. But yeah, shout out to him, man. He's like Troy Polamalu in that commercial where he's like, I'm always working.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's why he was okay with retiring early, because he wasn't afraid of what he was gonna do. I think that's another thing. A lot of time with the fighters, they stay doing it longer because they're afraid to venture out to something else, or they don't have no other love or passions that they know of or whatever.
Yeah, I like Porter, man. He has that emotional stamina to just be willing to do things and try things out. Yeah, we need more people like that. For real. We need more people like that in this world, man. And it's a shame that we're not gonna see him fight. That's the first thing I thought when I saw him last night. I said, "Damn, man, I'd love to see you fight again, man. Like, I know I just saw you, but it is what it is, man." But
I mean, I guess he fought the top guy for his last fight.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, he knows how this thing works, man. Like, he knew that he lost to Bud, or I'm sorry. Well, yeah. He lost to he lost to Spence. He beat Danny, but he lost to Spence, and then he lost to Bud. Who else did he lose to? Kell Brook.
Well, even just those two, arguably the top two guys.
Right.
So he fought both the top two guys.
He even said, like, if I lose this fight before the fight against Bud, he said, if I lose this fight, I'm just gonna be a journeyman for up and coming fighters.
If he keeps fighting, yeah.
And that's the facts. And he said, I don't want to do that, So I think he did it smart, man. But yeah, I mean, all that ties into like the original topic of like, we just want just to better the sport, both sports, especially because like in boxing, that's the red light district of sports.
Yeah.
And they've been saying that since before MMA was around. So, MMA, I think like when you just look at UFC as a brand, a lot of people they get confused. They don't even say MMA. They just say UFC.
Oh yeah, they don't know what well, or if they know UFC is, you tell them what MMA is, they don't know what MMA is.
Yeah. Well they just think it's one in the same.
Yeah.
They don't realize that UFC is just one company.
Yeah. They think UFC is a sport.
One league for MMA. So whereas, you have other leagues as well. And then like boxing, same thing. Like you have more than just leagues. You have promotional companies. You have, I guess a league would be like a sanctioning body.
Yeah.
You can participate in the IBF and WBO, WBC, WBA, and you have all these sanctioning bodies, and that's like a league. But I don't know, man, because it's weird, right? Because it's like you think like fighters in boxing should only fight in their promotion, right? The whole cross the street thing, like that's why Bud can't fight Spence and all that bullshit, which is obviously not true because Bud just fought Crawford. So, but a lot of people will allude to that, and then you have sanctioning bodies that will say, well, that's your mandatory. Well, he's in another promotion. That's your mandatory. You still have to fight him.
Yeah.
So now your promotional company has to, and we've seen fighters lose their belt because promotional companies couldn't work with other promotional companies. They couldn't come up with a deal.
Yeah.
Canelo losing one of his titles because Oscar couldn't make the fight with Sergey Devryanchenko. And then people actually had the nerve to say that Canelo was ducking Sergey Devryanchenko. Like, seriously? Like, of all people for Canelo to duck? Yeah, man. So, stuff like that happens. It's just a bunch of confusing stuff when you look at all the businesses that get involved. That's why people always say, like, boxing isn't a sport, it's a business.
Yeah, and it's what Dana always brings up, too. He said that people say that, I got paid the fighters more, this and that. He goes, but they have no idea what it takes to run a business. And it's true, we don't know what the fuck. You know what
exactly. I mean? That's why I say, if he can, like, he knows.
Yeah.
He knows if he's being a piece of shit and just keeping all that money for him. So he knows that. If that's the case, then yeah, man, you gotta put that money back and put it where it need to go. But going back to what I said, like about boxing being a business and not a sport, I always correct people and say no, boxing is a sport. Everything else is the business. the promotional companies, the sanctioning bodies, the networks,
mandatories, all that shit.
the managers, all that. It's a business, you know, because of the money. But the sport's still the sport, man, and that's what we love. You know what I'm saying? So, we just want to see it thrive. And you know, we're always adamant about it in both sports, man. I hate the, you know, January 15th, man. So they did it again. ESPN, they did a boxing and fight night on the same one. But it is what it is, man. We're gonna push for the love of both sports.
Yep.
We're gonna push for that. That's why, like, you know, kind of siding with Jake Paul on that one aspect about financial and safety and things of that nature. But yeah, you know what I mean? That's just something that we can hope for in the future, because I ain't got no access to nothing like that. I don't know about you.
And then somebody said, Jake Paul and Dana White should just box.
That'd probably be the most entertaining one of all.
That's what I said. I was like, that'd probably be pretty entertaining.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, man. I don't know. I mean, you know, like I said, that's social media, though. Like, at the end of the day, what they're doing right now, just going back and forth until something is done, man, that's social media, man.
Yeah.
That's how it works. That's no different from, you know, you arguing with your baby moms on Facebook or something like that. That's the same thing. It's just people are in tune. That's reality TV on the internet. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You got anything else?
Not really. I think that's it.
Word. Yeah, I think that's it for me, too. Went off on a little bit of a tangent, but it's all good.
That was a good one.
Until next week, once again, my name's Manny.
My name's Alberto.
This is the OnlyFights Podcast, and we out.
Peace.
Peace.